Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome to the NoDQ.com live recap of AEW Dynamite for September the 1st, 2021. All Out is this coming Sunday. It's Wednesday night. You know what that means. Let's get right down to this recap. The 100th episode of Dynamite, by the way. We kicked off hot and heavy with FTR versus Santana and Ortiz. Santana and Ortiz had a hot start, doing some stereo dives to the outside of the ring. FTR ended up getting the upper hand, worked over Ortiz's arm for a while, and then Santana got a hot tag, paid tribute to the late, great Eddie Guerrero, doing the Three Amigos, hit a big frog splash for a near fall, and then Wheeler came in, broke up another near fall attempt, another pinfall attempt, and then match went back and forth with more near falls. Crowd started chanting, "This is awesome." And eventually FTR was able to pick up the win with a big rig on Ortiz. Actually, I take that back. I screwed up here. They hit the big rig on Ortiz, but Santana was able to stop the pin, and then it was actually Santana and Ortiz that got the win over FTR. So good match here to kick off the show. And then we had CM Punk arrive. CM Punk coming out for an interview. No Tony Schiavone this week, just CM Punk. First thing he did was ask the fans if they're sick of him yet. Crowd was no. This was Chicago, CM Punk territory, and pretty big reaction for him, but not nearly the reaction that there was for him at the United Center. But of course, that was his first appearance since returning. Punk said that he was going to enjoy this run while it lasts, and he said in a few days, Sunday, it could be the end for him. He hasn't wrestled in 7 years. He's nervous, and he said, dare he say, he might even be scared of what's going to happen. The crowd started to chant, "You still got it." At this point, we had Daniel Garcia and 2.0 attacking Punk, beating him down. Darby Allin and Sting ended up running down and making the save. Punk fought back, got physical for the first time in an AEW ring. And everybody hit their finishers, coffin drop, scorpion death drop. And yes, CM Punk busted out his first GTS in AEW. Crowd was loving this. And then we had a Darby Allin and CM Punk stare down. Sting got on the mic, and he gave props to CM Punk, said that their paths had never crossed until this point. He said that this Sunday he's going to make sure that it's a one-on-one match. He will be in the back. He will not be out at ringside. And he said this Sunday it will be showtime. Caleb Jacobs sent in a very generous $20.52 super chat. Thank you for that, Caleb. I appreciate it. Says, I am sure the Punk versus Allin match will be good, but I am excited to see a Punk versus Sting match, one of my dream matches. It was definitely cool to see Punk and Sting in the ring together. I don't know if they're ever going to have a match against each other, just because they're both, well, I guess CM Punk is a legend at this point. They're both legends, fan favorites. Maybe they'll do that match at some point. Who knows? But I would like to see them on the same side. I was thinking if this was WWE, they probably would have done a 6-man tag team match on this show. Maybe they will on a future Dynamite, maybe in a couple weeks. But I want to see CM Punk and Sting on the same page together with Darby Allin in a 6-man tag team match. And I think that would be the best usage of Sting. I don't know if Sting should be doing one-on-one matches with a guy who needs to be, I mean, not necessarily carried, but CM Punk hasn't wrestled a match in 7 years, and Sting is a 62-year-old man. Not sure how that match would play out. I think their personalities would get them through, but I'd rather see Sting utilized in tag matches, and I'd like to see Sting and CM Punk on the same team. TJS says, I feel like Punk is turning his wheels until All Out. Well, I thought it was a good segment. I thought it was really strong build-up for the pay-per-view. Anthony says CM Punk can carry Sting in a match. Now, are you sure about that? We haven't seen CM Punk wrestle in 7 years. Jeff Meacham Network. Jeff Meacham is here. Sent in a $5 super chat. Thank you, Jeff. Says, gotta break the stick to the topic rule since I have to bail now. Looking forward to predictions live here tomorrow at 8 p.m. and replay on my channel at 10 p.m. Yes, Thursday night we will be doing all-out predictions, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And make sure you guys follow Jeff over at Jeff Meacham Network. Next up, we had Tony Schiavone in a sit-down interview with MJF. I guess him and Jim Ross had a coin flip, and Tony lost the coin flip. Jim Ross got to interview Jericho. We'll get to that in a few minutes. MJF said that he will be taking Chris Jericho's spot, and he is going to end one of the greatest runs in wrestling history at All Out. We then had Orange Cassidy versus Jack Evans in a match, and Matt Hardy attacked Orange Cassidy before the match could even get going. Cassidy was able to make a comeback, got a few near falls, and he started taunting Evans with his kicks. And just when it looked like Evans was going to pick up the win, during the commercial break, they did the picture-in-picture. Orange Cassidy picked up the win with a inside cradle. And then after the match was over, Evans started complaining to the referee. Matt Hardy ran back to the ring. Best Friends ran down, and then the Hardy family office ran down. And then eventually Lucha Express ran down to make the save. So a lot of chaos during this match. Not much to say about it. You know, it's a fine mid-card feud, and pretty standard stuff here with these guys. Interesting that they did the finish during the picture-in-picture, which I think is a good idea, just to establish that a match could end during a commercial break, and thus fans should stay glued to their TV sets and not walk away. I think they should do something like that every once in a while. Hamp Kano with a $5 super chat. Thank you, Hamp. I appreciate it. Says, I'm not really looking forward to MJF and Jericho because it's just a regular one-fall match. They've done that twice already, just my opinion. It's not just any one-fall match, though. Chris Jericho is putting his career on the line. Now, I think WWE overall these years, and WCW too, and probably TNA from what I remember, retirement stipulations never seem to stick. And I mean, this goes before WWE too. I mean, Terry Funk was retiring in the 80s and then would come back. Nobody buys the retirement stipulations. And I think maybe that's why some people are not as enthusiastic about this match. But one thing I will say about AEW is they have done a good job of honoring stipulations. And look at Cody. Cody lost to Jericho in 2019 and never challenged for the world title again. They stuck with that stipulation. I don't think Jericho's losing, by the way, but I think AEW, if Jericho was going to lose, he would stick to the stipulation, but I would be very surprised to see that happen. Caleb Jacobs sent in a $5 super chat. Thank you, Caleb. Says, Sting is a Hall of Famer. he would know how to get Punk over in a match, just like Flair did for Sting in Sting's career. I don't think Punk needs any help getting over in a match. Just saying. But thank you for that, Caleb. I appreciate the super chat. Curtis Butler did not like the picture-in-picture finish, saying that he would rather have matches and after adverts. That's why I say do it once in a while. They should not do it all the time, in my opinion, but do it every now and then so people know, like, they might miss something. If they walk away during a commercial, they might actually miss the end of the match. So I think it's good to keep people guessing. We had Jim Ross do the in-ring interview with Chris Jericho. Jericho brought up how he started with WWE 22 years ago in Chicago. Jim Ross helped bring him in. JR asked Jericho about the stipulation. Jericho went into full-blown final hype for the pay-per-view promo mode, said that MJF is a piece of shit, and he did say that they have a lot in common, but he's got 3 losses to MJF, and that is not settling with him. He needs to beat MJF, and that's why he put his career on the line. He said that AEW is the hottest company in the world, and he doesn't want it to be the end. He wants more. He said if he loses, he will accept it. He will thank the fans. He will walk away gracefully, do the commentary. He said that in order for that to happen, though, MJF has to be the best he's ever been. He has to break every bone in Jericho's body. He has to squeeze every bit of breath out of Jericho's body. But it's not going to happen. Jericho said that MJF doesn't have the balls to get rid of him. Hell of a promo here from Jericho. Really well done, you know. He's always great. And Wander This World 97 says, why was JR even in the ring? It felt nothing like an interview, just a promo. I think just to have Jericho and JR in the ring together for a segment. But yeah, JR really did not serve much of a purpose here. He basically asked one question, and then Jericho took over the interview. And you know, I said this last week with CM Punk and Tony Schiavone. Like, I felt CM Punk could never really get any kind of momentum going on the mic talking to Tony Schiavone. I like the back and forth interviews sometimes, but guys like CM Punk and Jericho, like, they just get into the zone, and when you have another guy there asking them questions, it kind of takes them out of the zone. Like, once they get going, they just want to focus on talking and delivering the lines. With this promo, Jericho just did his own thing. And if him and JR kept talking back and forth, it wouldn't have had that impact that it had. So this week, Punk did a promo without Tony Schiavone, which I definitely think was better. Marcus the Entertainer says, I think they were testing the waters with JR doing these kind of segments. You could be right. There's been speculation about JR possibly winding down his broadcasting career. And I mean, it's going to happen eventually. It's just a matter of when. He's not going to be doing this forever. And Don Brown says, do you think if Jericho loses, he goes back to WWE? No. He'll be doing commentary if he loses. He even said it. He'll still be there. And again, I don't think he's going to lose. But we'll talk about that when we do predictions. Thursday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 Pacific. Make sure you tune in for that. And I agree with Marcus the Entertainer. Sit-down interviews are better for guys like Jungle Boy that are not that great at talking. You know, just like in the ring, sometimes a wrestler needs to be carried by another wrestler. Sometimes when it comes to the promos, a guy who's not that good on the mic needs somebody who can talk to carry them and help them out and get them through the promo. And I think that's why back in the day, guys like Mean Gene Okerlund were so valuable, because Okerlund could could get a good interview out of somebody who was not necessarily that good at cutting promos, but Okerlund could help guide them through the promo and make it good. Guys like Jericho and CM Punk absolutely do not need that help. Like, they are top tier talkers. Caleb Jacobs with a $10 super chat. Thank you, Caleb. I really do appreciate the super chats. He says, it feels like Jericho is going to retire from in-ring competition in AEW. They are honoring his career. Well, they want you to feel that way. So if you feel that way, they're doing their job well. If they're making you wonder, is this really the end, then they've done well as far as the build-up and the hype goes. But I don't think it's going to happen. Real quick, I think Jeff left already, but anybody that's following Caitlyn on Twitter, maybe tweet her or Facebook message her. I need a water. I forgot to bring a water over here, and I feel like I'm going to lose my voice at some point. So I'm not sure if she can hear me. She's in the other room. Somebody message her and have her bring me a water, please. Anyways, I'm going to keep going here. Hopefully my voice doesn't give out on me. Usually I have a bottle of water, and like an idiot, I forgot. A stupid idiot. Anyways, Curtis Butler says yell. Well, if she cannot hear me now, she's probably not going to hear me if I start yelling. Oh, here she comes. She did hear me. I need that water. All right, let's move on here. All right, I actually had a fresh one will do, though. I had one that was already being utilized, but thank you. Oh, TJS said he texted you.
I heard you.
All right, let's move on here. Sorry about that. Never do a live stream without a bottle of water. Lesson 101. Okay. We had a video package for Darby Allin to hype up the match with CM Punk. And Darby said that when he was growing up, CM Punk was his favorite wrestler. Hamp says, why do you tear the label off? I'm weird. You guys might not know about YouTube, but sometimes things can get flagged, and I'm always paranoid that a logo might get flagged or there might be some issue. I know it's probably stupid and pointless, but I rip off the label because I always wonder, like, is the video going to get flagged because a logo shows up and somehow triggers the copyright system or whatever. TGS says, what brand? None of your business. No, it's the Ice Mountain brand. You would think they would like the free promotion, but you never know. Again, it's probably nothing to worry about, but I've had videos flagged before for stupid reasons that make no sense, and that's YouTube for you. Anyways, enough of that. Let's get back to the recap. Darby Allin's video package said that he didn't appreciate that CM Punk was putting him first on the list because it basically means that CM Punk is overlooking Darby. And he said he's gonna bring everything he's got. He will beat Punk or he will die trying at the pay-per-view. Zach says, what about the Mario Kart logo on your shirt, LOL? Good point. Good point, Zach. And I do it anyways. I've yet to get flagged for a t-shirt, but there's a first time for everything. It might happen one day. You never know. We had Will Hobbs coming down to the ring for a match with Brian Cage. Brian Cage jumped Hobbs during the entrance. What a babyface thing to do, although Team Taz has been giving him hell, so I guess what goes around comes around. And this was pretty much what you would expect from these guys. You know, big man versus big man. A lot of beef in there with these guys. A lot of hard-hitting moves. Hobbs got the upper hand for a while. Cage used his power and suplexed Hobbs back into the ring from the apron. And then you had the typical interference finish with Hook getting on the apron. And then Ricky Starks on the other side of the ring using the FTW title And then Powerhouse Hobbs hit his finisher to pick up the win over Cage. TJS says all that meat and still no steaks. Marcus the Entertainer says Hook is taller than Brian Cage. Ouch. Curtis Butler says bland segment. It was okay, but yeah, just pretty typical average television match. Nothing to write home about. We had a little video package from Malachi Black. Speaking of screwing up names, JR did. We'll get to that in a few minutes. Malachi Black said that he walked away from Lee Johnson last week because he dictates when they fight. And he said that Lee Johnson's demise, unlike Cody and Arn Anderson and Brock Anderson, will not be swift. We then had QT Marshall. Ever since he started calling himself QT Marshall, I'm starting to turn the corner on him. Like, I always felt like QT, behind the scenes, pretty big deal in AEW. He's been working with a lot of the young talent, but on camera, not the most charismatic guy, but I am enjoying the whole QT Marshall persona that he's developing. And anyways, him and the Factory, they called out Paul White, who Jim Ross referred to as the Big Show, not once, but twice. And you know what? I don't blame him. I probably would have done the same thing. I called Malachi Black Aleister Black just a few minutes ago. It happens. But yeah, people were giving him hell again on social media. Anytime JR makes a mistake, whether he calls a move wrong or he calls somebody by the wrong name, somebody always gives him hell. Paul White did come down to the ring, and they all ganged up on him. And Big Show did the spot where he powers out of the beatdown, and just everybody goes flying. And then Big Show, I just did it. I called him Big Show. Paul White with a punch and then a choke slam. Then the Gun Club came down to the ring to help Paul White, even though he already took care of everybody and cleaned house. I thought this was really weird. I'm like, why is the Gun Club out there to help him when he doesn't need help? And then QT Marshall grabbed the chair, which Billy Gunn was able to snatch away from QT. And then we found out why the Gun Club was there. Big Show was staring down QT Marshall, and that's when Billy Gunn attacked Paul White from behind, hit him in the back with a steel chair, and then hit him in the head with a steel chair. Big Show, Paul White, getting a taste of his own medicine. The guy that's always turning against people knows what it's like now to have somebody betray you. And then QT came back in the ring and hit a diamond cutter on Paul White. We finally got a conclusion to the Shogun storyline. If you guys remember back in the day, Big Show and Billy Gunn were the Shogun team. And now we have a conclusion to that storyline almost 20 years later. And as Dr. NXT Scorpio says, Paul White versus Billy Gunn coming soon. Curtis Butler says Vince Russo watching this is like WTF because they did a swerve. Yes, they did. Hamp Kano with a $2 super chat. Thank you, Hamp. Says, so no Shoguns reunion, I'm guessing. Unfortunately, no. The Shoguns, we will not see that reunion anytime soon. But we will probably get a match with them at some point, which I'm fine with. I'm almost halfway excited for that. And I will say this got me a little bit more interested in Paul White versus QT, although I'm fairly certain Paul White's going to get a fairly easy win over QT Marshall. We then had a backstage interview with Britt Baker talking to Tony Schiavone. Rebel and Jamie Hayter are going to be in the Battle Royal, the Casino Battle Royale. And then Britt had a major announcement, a new free agent signing in AEW. One of the hottest stars in wrestling has just signed a long-term contract with AEW. And that person, drum roll, was Britt Baker. Yes, she trolled everybody. She's got a new contract with AEW and she's going nowhere. Caleb Jacobs with a $10 super chat. Thank you again, Caleb. I very much appreciate it. Says, Billy Gunn's first time as a heel since 2014. Man, I don't even remember that heel turn or that heel run in 2014. I guess that was with Billy Gunn and Road Dogg as the New Age Outlaws, but yeah, I don't even remember that. I do remember them winning the tag titles, but not much else. We had Thunder Rosa backstage interviewed about the Casino Battle Royale, and she was attacked by Jade Cargill and Nyla Rose. And then we had Penelope Ford versus the Bunny, or not versus the Bunny, Penelope Ford with the Bunny versus Ty Conti. I keep messing up tonight. I said that FTR won the match when they actually lost, and now I'm thinking that Penelope Ford is facing the Bunny. As Noah Foster would say, botch. We're live. It's one take, so, gotta try to get it right the first time. Sometimes I screw up. Anyways, Penelope Ford with the Bunny versus Ty Conti. And this was right around the usual 9:20 to 9:30 spot in the show. The women were all put into this window, the Britt Baker segment, Thunder Rosa getting attacked by Nyla Rose and Jade Cargill. All this was like 9:15 to 9:30. Anyways, pretty decent match here from them, but nothing too special. They traded some submissions, and Ty went after both of them before the match even got going. Ty hit a series of pump kicks, and then Penelope countered the Ty KO, got a near fall on Ty. And there was a This Is Awesome chance, but it was one of those WWE This Is Awesome chants in a bad town where it was very subdued. This Chicago crowd was good. They really liked CM Punk, and they got into the main event. But it didn't feel like one of the better AEW crowds. What did you guys think? Did you think that this Chicago crowd lived up to expectations? I kind of felt like they were a good crowd, better than a Raw crowd for sure, but not quite the level of intensity and engagement that you get from other AEW crowds. I'm sure on Sunday it will be a great crowd. You got to keep in mind, Sunday's crowd is going to be all the out-of-towners coming in, people flying in from all over the place. This was purely a Chicago local area crowd. This is not a crowd that was flying in for this. So Sunday, when the crowd's going crazy, you got to keep that in mind. It's all the people flying in, all the diehard fans coming in from out of town for this event. Got a few super chats here. Let me get to these before the main event. First of all, we have a $5 super chat from Walter Cruz. Thank you, Walter. Says, I don't know if it's AEW's fault or just me, but I'm only looking forward to CM Punk and to see if Bryan Danielson debuts. Really don't care about any other match. I don't think that this is the best card that AEW has put together, but I think it's a pretty strong card. I think the cage match is going to be awesome. I mean, I have no doubt that's going to be a fantastic match. I think that even though it's predictable, I think Christian Cage and Kenny Omega will have a great match. I think it will deliver. AEW pay-per-views have always delivered. And yeah, CM Punk's match will be really fun. I think maybe the problem is that it does feel like a predictable card. We'll talk about that more when we do predictions. Marcus the Entertainer with a $5 super chat. Thank you, Marcus. Says, remember Billy and Road Dogg had that cage match with Cody Rhodes and Damian Sandow. Road Dogg did not catch Cody on the moonsault. I do not remember that at all. I don't remember much about the New Age Outlaws and their comeback. I do remember it happened, but yeah, a lot of that I do not recall. And Hamp Connell with a $5 super chat. Thank you, Hamp. Says, they turned on CM Punk and went with the Authority a few weeks before he quit, then teamed with Corporate Kane versus The Shield at WrestleMania 30. All right, well, thank you guys for the reminder about all this stuff. But yeah, I just did not remember most of the details about the New Age Outlaws coming back and that whole 2014 run. Blake Riley with a $15 super chat. Thank you very much for that, Blake. I appreciate it. He says, hi, Aaron. Love the show. Big fan. Only been an AEW fan since November, and I'm loving it more. And I always thought I would be a lifelong WWE fan, but the product is very stale lately. Looking forward to All Out. I have heard other people say the same thing, Blake. You're definitely not the only one. I know a lot of disgruntled WWE fans that are starting to get sold on AEW. I know people at first were hesitant about AEW, but I think like CM Punk, people are starting to get into AEW. It's starting to grow on them. And I think AEW has put out a solid product since the start. I think that they've consistently put on good shows. They are catering to a degree to the disgruntled WWE fans instead of trying to create a new audience. But I think that they're working on it, and it is a work in progress. You know, they have been around for 2 years, and Impact Wrestling, I remember whenever I would criticize Impact, people would be like, oh, it's a new company. You got to give them some time. And that was true to a degree, but then 5 years turned into 10 years, and then 10 years turned into 15 years, and you know, they never really were able to create stars. AEW, they've accomplished arguably way more than AEW or Impact Wrestling. AEW has accomplished more than Impact in 2 years than Impact did in its entire run. I mean, based off of live event attendance, pay-per-view buys, merchandise, all the metrics, AEW has clearly done the best business of any non-WWE promotion since WCW went under. Marcus the Entertainer sent in a $5 super chat. Thank you, Marcus. I appreciate it. Says the big names like CM Punk and Daniel Bryan are supposed to get eyes on the product and buy pay-per-views, but you may see a new star that catches your eyes. Good point there. I mean, ultimately, CM Punk and Daniel Bryan and Bray Wyatt, if he comes in, these guys will bring more eyeballs, but the ultimate goal should be to make new stars that can carry the company, that can be world champion and appear on news broadcasts and appear in movies. Like, AEW's ultimate goal should be to create their own mainstream superstars that are not just stars in the wrestling bubble. Will they be able to do that? That remains to be seen. They're a two-year-old company, and you got to bring in some of these past names to get the eyeballs on the product. But yeah, that's the big what if. Can AEW make a mainstream homegrown superstar? We had our main event segment of the evening, which was the Jurassic Express and the Lucha Brothers against the Young Bucks and the Good Brothers, Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson. Matt Helms sent in a $5 super chat, just saying hello, everyone. How's it going, Matt? Hope you're doing well. Thank you very much for tuning in, as always. We had the cage above the ring, of course, this Sunday. Young Bucks defending the tag team titles against the Lucha Brothers. The Elite, they come down to the ring with that awful song, which I guess works better with them as heels. When they were coming out as faces, I was just like, you gotta be kidding me, this is awful. But at least now they're heels, so they can justify coming out to the stupid music. So anyways, right off the bat, you had the Bucks and the Lucha Brothers going at it, doing quad super kicks, having a stare down to hype up their match. Then everything started breaking down, and the baby faces were dominating like crazy here. Phoenix got a hot tag, and he was on fire doing all sorts of crazy stuff. Crowd gave him a standing ovation, one of the biggest pops of the night. And then Luchasaurus took Nick Jackson and chokeslammed him over the top onto the rest of the Elite. Jungle Boy did a dive off the back of Luchasaurus. And then Phoenix hit a double cutter to the Bucks. So yeah, the faces got a ton of offense, but in the end, the bad guys got the upper hand, and the Bucks pinned Phoenix with the Dave Meltzer driver, which I thought was very interesting. We'll talk more about that when we do the predictions. After the match was over, they did an NWO style beatdown with Kenny Omega arriving. They lowered the cage, and then Omega started barking orders. Got to get a sip of water. Glad I got it from earlier. They hit a magic killer to Luchasaurus through a table, and the cage was lowered. Christian was in the ring by himself. He had come into the ring. He speared Omega, but he got overwhelmed. And then with the cage lowered, the Elite got kendo sticks. They beat down Christian Cage inside the cage. The wrestlers, Luchasaurus, Marco Stunt, and a bunch of other guys tried to climb the cage to save Cage, but the Elite used the kendo sticks to keep those guys out of the cage so they could not save Christian Cage. Brandon Cutler was using his spray. And then to finish off Christian Cage in the cage, Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks hit the BTE trigger on Cage, left him laying in the cage. Final segment before this Sunday's All Out pay-per-view, we will have that cage match, and then Christian Cage will get Kenny Omega for the AEW World Championship. And Brian Cage is not on the card. Good ending here to the show, and I'm very intrigued about the tag team title match, how that's going to go down. All in all, I thought it was a good go-home show for the pay-per-view. I thought they had a nice balance of wrestling action, promos, video packages to get people hyped for the show. I thought they did well. Now, the poll I posted, 46% of you gave Dynamite an A, 42% B, 8% C, and 4% D. I am giving the show a solid B+. Really good go-home show for Sunday. Very well done. Enjoyed the CM Punk stuff. Main event was really solid. Marshall Leonard gives it an A++++. Says, always the best show of the week wrestling-wise. Dr. NXT Scorpio with a B. Mike B with a B-. Caleb Jacobs gives it an A+. Calvin Bowman with a B+. MVP Kev with a big plus. With a B+, not a big plus. Somebody needs to make an Aaron Rift Botchamania. You might get a good amount of content just from this live stream alone. TJS says they wrote out Christian for Sunday. No, I don't think so. I think it was just setting up for Sunday and making it look like Christian is not going to be 100% for the match. So yeah, All Out is this Sunday. I will be doing live results coverage for that. And then we will be doing our predictions video, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific on Thursday. Tune in for that to get my final thoughts on the show. Blake Riley sent in another $15 super chat. Thank you very much for that, Blake. I really do appreciate it. He says, the only thing I'm disappointed about All Out is that we will not see Hangman Adam Page versus Kenny Omega. I've become a huge fan of Hangman. He is one of my favorite wrestlers in wrestling today, hopefully at Full Gear. That's something that's definitely a possibility. And I was thinking Page was going to be the guy to beat Omega at All Out in the first place and try to make Adam Page the face of the company. Going back to earlier, making a homegrown star be the world champion, not a former WWE guy. And yes, Omega is not a former WWE guy, but he's been a top star for several years now. And the idea should be to build somebody who's going to be the face of AEW for the next 5 to 10 years. Hopefully we'll see Paige back, and that may play into my predictions for All Out. But to hear that, you have to tune in. And Mike, I'm going to use that line. As Tony Schiavone would say, so long, fans. We're out of time. I'll see you guys next time for the AEW All Out predictions video.